Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Sorry, I was, we have, it's the season for us. We have students all over, and I'm in Spain now with all, yeah, we have lots of students as you know, and I cannot give them a load at the same time. So many followers today? Yes. Okay. Fine. I don't know what's funny. So thank you very much, Dimitri, for joining. Thank you very much, Vibor, for joining. I know it's Sunday, it's not easy. Are you at home today, Dimitri? You at home? So
yes, I am.
You have a nice library. Huh? You have lots of books. Congratulations.
Exactly.
Congratulations, Vibor. Yeah, thank you again.
Yes. Thank you.
I don't know. If you have some time, if you could discuss the case of one of our friends. Okay. Bon, let's. But can we start? Huh? Basically, yeah. So, Karishma.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. I'm Karishma. I'll be your moderator for the day. And before we begin, please do not mute the others. We have had that problem before. So let's begin. I would like to start with the presentation. Please give me a moment. Can you see it? Hello?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So today's discussion is on the Master in Finance. A Master in Finance, as the name suggests, is a graduate program in finance only. So graduates from this program typically apply the expertise in various careers in corporate finance, investment banking, financial institutions, or risk management, portfolio management, etc. Now, the degree differs slightly depending on the institute that is offering it. So it is usually known as the Master of Finance or Master in Finance, and sometimes as Master of Science in Finance. There might be other nomenclatures which you can always research. Okay. So popular coursework includes focused finance topics. There's a lot of focus on finance topics, as the name suggests. So as obtained from the ESSEC and Berkeley Haas curriculums, we have topics such as financial markets, corporate financial theory and management, econometrics, fixed income markets, etc. Students also undergo specializations or projects in corporate finance, finance markets, equity research, and more. And internships are common, though not compulsory. Different schools have their own approach to it. Some schools have a choice between completing a dissertation on an original finance research topic or use the time to gain internship experience, like I mentioned with the previous one. It is not necessary that all schools will have internships. Programs often include international study trips for that extra bit on a global experience. Okay. So what are the eligibility and requirements? Most programs do not need any professional experience. This is important. But however, you require a master's or a bachelor's degree in related subjects, such as economics, computer science, engineering, science, mathematics. Please understand that this master's in finance is quite you need to have a very thorough understanding of finance, I believe. So your prior degree should have that. International candidates are required to demonstrate their proficiency in English through the TOEFL or IELTS or any other acceptable test scores. If I'm not wrong, in the US, they accept Duolingo test scores this year, but more on that later. The GMAT, GRE, or other aptitude tests are essential in not all but certain programs. And finally, the most common are CV, essays, transcripts, recommendation letters, and interviews. Now, let's look at the rankings. The Financial Times 2020 rankings this year. This time I've made a world ranking because yesterday it was mostly the European rankings for the MIM. But here, HEC Paris ranks at number 1, ESCP is at number 2, Schema Business School at 3, and ESSEC Business School at number 4. Sure, MIT also comes in at number 8. Now, similarly, the QS rankings 2021 says the Oxford Side Business School ranks at number 1, London Business School and MIT at number 2, and HEC Paris at number 4, with ESSEC at number 7, with UCLA Anderson. Now, our speakers today. Dimitri is the recruitment manager for the pre-experience masters at HEC Paris. He's already joined us, so welcome, Dimitri. Vibor is the international promotions manager at ESSEC. She was with us for a previous MIM discussion also, so welcome, Vibor, once again. Dan will be joining us. He's an MSc in Finance at ESSEC Business School. He also holds a master's from the Assas University. Finally, we have Dr. Hubert Silly, who is the founder of MBA Center, MBA Events World Tour, and the co-founder of Access MBA. He is a 3 times GMAT 800. He has scored the GMAT 800 thrice. He's a professor at ESSEC Business School and also has a PhD in social sciences, which he got under the direction of Martha Nussbaum from Harvard University. So here I yield to Hubert. Hubert, I guess you'd like to take on.
So basically, Vibor, can you explain to us why French business schools are so highly regarded in the rankings and by investment professionals?
So particularly French business schools, they are highly ranked programs because first, France is a country with the national language French. However, we've maintained to offer courses in English. The research particularly is very important because French researchers, particularly in finance, they have been receiving very high accreditations from international accreditation bodies and also ranks. And this particularly is one of the reasons why French business schools are sought after for finance graduates. First, because US schools, they are particularly popular for MBA programs. So people who have experience, they are opting for more and more US schools, whereas students can catapult their career with a program right after their bachelor's, which European schools and in particular French schools offer. So I think that those would be some of the reasons why students prefer to study in France and in finance programs in French business schools.
How do you explain Dimitri as well? Because you ranked #1 in the Financial Times ranking. So Vibor, ESSEC is ranked what, #2 or 3, depends. Huh?
Okay. We're #4 on FT, yeah.
FT, whatever, but you're always in the top 3. How do you explain, for instance, Dimitri, that HEC? Of course, for you it's normal, but how do you explain that you're so high in the rankings? Is it because of the quality of the students, because of the job that they find, because of how well it is regarded by business schools?
Yeah, well, all that it's true. First of all, the quality and the fact that the program is very much selective and competitive, so it's very difficult to get in. But also the academic excellence that we deliver, and at the same time, and I think it's really one of the main characteristics of our program is the practical approach that we have, including the career placement that we have afterwards. So those would be the main elements of, I believe, those rankings, because I think the FT rankings are pretty much based on the starting salaries of the students. So that's why perhaps HEC is #1, even though rankings can change from one year to another. So, but still.
But HEC has been #1 for quite a time now, for quite some time. Huh?
I think 7 years in a row. Yeah.
Yeah, because what is interesting is that of course a lot of students that are coming today, I can see, are either from India or from South America, so that people coming from all over. And of course, for them, the finance place in Europe is London. Okay, so they may be surprised that finally the finance place is London, but the place of academic excellence in finance is Paris somehow. Okay, so how do you select your students, Dimitri, to have the best?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't answer.
How do you select your students to have the best? What do you do to have the best students? What do you do?
Yeah, well, the evaluation of the application is really based on an overall. So that's why we don't just take into consideration, for instance, the GMAT score, even though it's a very important element of the application, but we also take into account the prior work experience of the students, even though it's not required officially. It's always better to have some prior work experience in the finance sector, if possible. Academic excellence is very important, as I've said, so we do take into consideration the GPA of the students, the home institutions, so yeah, those would be the main elements of a successful application, I believe.
When we have students applying for top for MIF programs, so we have some, by the way, one will come to testify today. His name is Dan Benamou. I'm sure that you remember him. I always say to my students, it's very recommended that you have experience in IB, even though a lot of them do not have experience in IB. They have experience in financial markets, asset management. Few have, because of course when you're 20, 21, it's difficult to have experience in IB. How important is the professional experience in the selection process? Your micro is off, Libor. Yeah.
Okay, so we recommend students, if they have, first of all, we do not require the experience, but it's always good to have it on your CV, especially as you said, Hubert, on if you have it in IB, it's perfect. One of the reasons why we need this experience, we recommend this experience, is that while you are in the program studying the academic part and networking with the professionals, one of the things that you're doing very strongly in the program is also you are applying for investment banks. You're preparing for this particular type of interview process, which is very specific in investment banks. So having that experience already and understanding how an investment bank is structured and what you are aiming at, and while you're preparing during the program, what is your future goal at the end of the program. And so that clarity comes when you already have some experience in finance. So what we recommend to our students is, even if you cannot get it in IB, even if you have not had the chance to work in an investment bank, if you have already worked in financial services, in finance, even in finance departments of retail sector, that would help. But definitely having experience in IB helps with one part of the program very greatly when you're at it.
Okay, so I know Dimitri and Hubert that you have presentations, and of course I will let you give them. But what you have to see is that the students that we have now are preparing their GMAT, so they are pretty well informed. So of course it's important that they know about you, but it's not like a QS or an access event where these people are taking the GMAT. They are in a prep program, so they are quite knowledgeable. Of course, it would be important that you say that. But what I wanted to insist on is that it's the quality, the academic excellence of French school in this field. So ESCP is not there because the problem of ESCP, as you know, is that you need to speak the two languages, and you need to speak French because part of the program is in French and the other part of the program is in English. And of course, it's not very convenient for students because most of them, from the people that I see here, no one speaks French. Okay, so they could not follow the program. And also, you have other very good programs such as Polytechnic that has good programs in finance, also ESCP, and also EDEC. And it was very important. I've noticed as well, I don't know why, that usually the GMAT required by MIF is higher than the GMAT required by MIM in general. I'm not saying, I don't know if you see that in averages, but from our side, we always say to our students, if you get 640, 650, it's very unlikely that you get an MIF. Is it something that you have noticed as well? Do you recommend students to have a certain score? I know that it's not something that you want to say, because at the same time you don't want to discourage people who have lower score, but you're talking these people that are preparing the program, so they know basically what to expect. Is it something that you expect, because you, for instance, Dimitri, and you, Vibor, you manage the recruitment both of MIM and MIF. So is it something that you're ready to say, if you want to an MIF, try to have a higher score than for an MIM? So you need to get in the 660, 680 minimum. Am I right when I say something like this?
Well, first of all, we don't require any minimum score, but to be honest, and I think it's the main purpose of today's webinar. So, the average, both for the MIF and for the MIM, actually, it's the same average. It's about 7 and 10, which is quite high. It's even the median. So meaning 50% of the admitted students have less than that score. But nevertheless, we don't require any minimum score because, as I've said, it's really based on an overall. So, for instance, if you feel your GMAT is a bit on the low side, If it's less than 680, let's say, then perhaps your consistent work experience can, or your GPA can compensate that relatively low GMAT. So, but to answer your question, Hubert, quite frankly, it's the same average both for the MIF and the MIM, which is 7 and 10 roughly.
It's the same average, okay? Because we have noticed that the students. So basically, if you want, Dimitri, do you want to make the presentation now, your presentation, and then,
yeah, why not?
Because I would like to have Q&A, but the students are not asking questions, so I have people of my team, Anmol, Karishma, others who are going to contact students to ask them to put questions. So go ahead, Dimitri.
Okay, cool. I'll try to be brief. Okay. So you should be able to see my screen right now.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about the International Finance program at HEC. And first of all, I'd just like to mention that we have different departments. And just to explain that today we'll focus on a pre-experience program, meaning the MIF program is best suited for students who have between 0 and 3 years of work experience. So 3 would really be the maximum you can have. If you have more, by the time the program starts, I strongly recommend you get in contact with our MBA team because your profile would be a better fit. To give you an overview of some facts and figures. So first of all, I won't mention again the rankings, but at this point, I'd just like to mention the international environment that we have, especially within the International Finance Program, as well as the partnerships we have with a lot of top institutions in the world. For instance, Tsinghua University, we have a double degree within the International Finance Program with Tsinghua, but also we have other partnerships with Yale or other great institutions. And finally, perhaps I'd like to mention the alumni network that we have, which is very strong. It's more than 60,000 people in the world, in more than 100 countries. And keep in mind that it's potential business partners that you can reach out once enrolled at HEC Paris. To continue with the general DNA of the school, I'd just like to mention a few elements here. First, to show that we do maintain high quality standards, and that's why we have small class sizes, as you can see. So no matter how big the class is, we always have less than 50 students per class. Which is very important because then the students can ask a lot of questions. It's very important also for small group projects that we have. Also, as you can see, we don't have any assistant teaching. It's always a main professor or a practitioner. And that's my second point on the slide. We have a perfect balance between theory and practice. And I'd just like to highlight this element because I really think it's one of the main strengths of the school and of the program. Indeed, you'll have 50% of research faculty and 50% of practitioners teaching, including world-class practitioners. And that's very important because then students get to see the two sides of the coin. To give you an example, one of the two program directors of the International Finance Program has worked previously in Lehman Brothers for several years. Another very iconic professors that we have in the program have worked as an M&A associate in JP Morgan in London. So those people do teach elective courses. And so again, it's really a great balance. And also, as you can see, we have real life case studies, up-to-date case studies. So in a nutshell, I would say that one of the main characteristics of the International Finance Program is the fact that it's a very practical approach of finance and business. So it's really hands-on program. So let's dive deeper into the program now. And just to give you a brief overview of the class profile. So as I've said, a lot of international students and a well-balanced diversity because we have a lot of students who've studied in Europe, of course, but also students from China, India, the US, Canada. and also a well-balanced diversity, I think, in terms of academic background. And that's very important to keep in mind, because our program is a generalist finance program, meaning we do welcome all kinds of academic backgrounds. So it's true that, as you can see, we have a fair amount of students who come from business schools, but also engineering students from Polytechnique, for instance, Hubert was talking about it, or from elsewhere, and also students from with an econ background, and to a lesser extent, even from social sciences or law. So it's really possible to be admitted even though you don't have a business background. And that's why, as you can see here, we have 2 special tracks, at least for the first few weeks of the program. So business students take the business track, that's obvious. But if you don't have any business background, then you can take the accelerated track. And the idea is really to bring you up to speed. And just for the first few weeks, if, for instance, you've studied math or physics or engineering, and then, of course, students are mixed again. But what I would like to mention also, as you can see from the get-go of the program, we do have a lot of networking. That's very important also, because for the first 2 weeks of the program, you don't have any classes. It's all dedicated to networking. So you have CV prep, you have mock interviews, and we give you the ability to meet a lot of companies, and from the start of the program, but throughout the year. So we also have a London study trip. For obvious reasons, it cannot be, it's online now, and it's a shame, but still we've managed to move all activities and network online, so students can still meet with a lot of great companies, investment banks, consulting firms, etc. And then, as you can see, we start really the program itself with the core courses. It's a very dense program, but we also give you the ability to customize your degree with a lot of electives. So I think there's more than 40 electives and concentration electives that you can choose. So as I've said, it's a very generalist program. So you'll have access to all topics that you can imagine related to finance. We also have the certificates moment. I won't go into details, but just keep in mind that it's really an additional value to your degree, because you can diversify your background with other topics than finance. But finally, and that's very important, as I've said, it's a very applied master. As you can see here, we ask the students to have professional experience, usually from June until December. That's compulsory in order to have all the credits and graduates. But it's really the springboard of the student's career. Most of them do an internship. About 30 or 40% of them have a full-time job. So it's really, as I've said, a very practical program. But as I've said earlier, also you can take a double degree with Tsinghua, which would be an additional year of study. So that's also possible. Okay, to talk about the career paths of our graduates. So first of all, most of them work in the UK. And so that's why French is not really relevant here. First of all, exactly as Hubert said earlier, the program is entirely taught in English. So it's the same that for the ESSEC. And a lot of our students do find employment in the UK or elsewhere. So French is not a problem per se, especially in the international finance. You can also see here and have an idea of the starting salaries and the job sectors. Okay, we've talked about the program and the career opportunities. I'd just like to mention very briefly, because I know it's not the main purpose of the webinar, that we have a campus located near Paris and Versailles, a lot of clubs and associations, including a finance club. So just wanted to mention that very briefly. And perhaps we can now finally focus on the admissions process and talk about the requirements. So it's really a 4-step process, as you can see. First, the online application. Then you have to wait for the admissibility results to be published. And if admissible, then you have the interview. It's pretty much a 25-minute interview. And then you have to wait usually a couple of weeks to have the admissions results to be published. Also, you can see here the list of required documents, among which a GMAT or a GRE score. But as I've said, we don't require any minimum score. But I'm not going to lie to you, GMAT would be an important element of your application, and it's really something that can strengthen your application. So if you don't have any prior work experience in finance when applying, I would very much recommend you try to have the higher score possible, because it's really a way to offset your lack of work experience. And as we've said earlier, we ask for a one-page CV and essay questions and so on. Okay. Finally, I'd just like to mention the calendar that we have. We usually have 4 admission rounds. So my main advice would be submit your application when you're really ready, when you're satisfied with your GMAT score and all the required documents. You don't want to rush, and that's why we give you the ability to apply and submit even in late April. Also, keep in mind, to be very transparent, keep in mind that there are fewer spots with each passing round. So, of course, you don't want to wait, but you know, if you're ready, do apply. I mean, that's really my advice. Okay, so I hope I wasn't too long. I just want to give you our email address if you want to reach out. Perhaps send us your CV if you'd like an informal review. So you can definitely contact us at admissionsmasters@hec.fr, and you can of course say hi, Dimitri. We've met on the webinar, and so no problem.
So yes, I have some questions regarding the structure of the program. So why have you got 2 tracks to start with? Because is it for financial markets and investment banking? Yes, so financial market and I don't know, and M&A, or yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, first of all, we have 2 different tracks, and that has nothing to do with the corporate finance or the capital market. It's just to give the opportunity for non-business students to have the same skills as the business students. So that's why there are 2 different tracks, and you apply for one of those 2 beforehand. And it's only for the first few weeks of the program. But then you're right, you can specialize either in corporate finance or in capital markets. That's mostly for the 2nd semester. And so you'll have access to special sets of electives. So for instance, if you're interested in, I don't know, investment banks or in private equity, then perhaps you'll choose the corporate finance specialization. But yeah, that's mostly it.
Okay. And what are the certificates that are offered? You mean, is it like the CFA, the KAYA, or what do you mean by certificates? Are the certificates offered by HEC or non-HEC certificates?
Yeah, it's a HEC certificate. It's pretty special. It's 6 weeks, all dedicated to a particular topic. So it's a set of courses, seminars, and fieldwork. For instance, you can apply for the luxury certificates at HEC and work with Kering, or you can do the M&A certificates with Deloitte and Société Générale. So it's really an additional value to your degree. You'll get to meet top executives as well, and it's really a special moment of the program.
Okay, and what you say about professional experience, what you call professional experience is the summer internship. That's what you call the summer internship. That's what you call professional experience. Huh? So there's a compulsory summer internship. Yeah, which is a long summer internship.
Yeah, you're right. It has to be at least 4 months. But it can be a full-time job, and as a matter of fact, about 30 or 40% of the MiF students do secure a full-time job
After the
right away.
internship, yeah. Or they go in the graduate program, or okay. And how many go to the optional degree with Tsinghua? How many go to China?
Not a lot. It used to be now non-Chinese speaking students can apply for it, but Chinese used to be required, not anymore. But most of the students, start their career right away.
Okay, so it's important to know.
Yeah.
And how do you manage? So you mentioned that now the brand presentations are online. So how did you adapt to that?
Yeah, that was difficult, but we've managed to invite all the companies, investment banks, consulting firms to do Zoom sessions and to meet with the students. So as a matter of fact, we've had, the program directors explained that they've had even more invitations and had more opportunities for the students, because there's no commute as opposed to a physical trip in London from one city to another. So it's really not the same experience. I'm not going to lie. I mean, being in London is much better, but still we were able to invite all the great companies in September.
Okay. Up to you, Hubert. So and by the way, after you, Hubert, there will be a testimonial of Dan Benamou.
Okay.
We will come to testify. Great. Thank you very much, Dimitri. So questions will come back after that. There will be a Q&A. Go ahead.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you see my screen now? Somebody confirm? Okay, all right, thank you. So I'll start with the master's program presentation. So we will go very quickly to the master's in finance program. But just before we go there, I just want you to have a look at this slide and just to familiarize yourself with the school. I'm sure you've already read on the website. So we are a family of 65,000 graduates all over the world with 4 different campuses around the world. So we have Sergi Pontoise campus, which is for the master's programs. For people who have 11 or 14 years of work experience, we also provide executive education. So those students, they study at the Paris La Défense campus. Our first international campus was at Singapore campus, and you have the possibility to do the master in finance also in Singapore. And then we have another ESSEC Africa campus at Rabat in Morocco. At any point of time, at all of our campuses, we have about 6,660 students who are studying. And we are well-ranked, humbly ranked school, so we are always under top 5 for our programs. In addition to your academic experience at ESSEC, we also provide 3 important things that you must know before you sign up for the school. The first one is the career services. So ESSEC provides a very strong network of services, as you've seen from the alumni network that we have all over the world, and our corporate partners. We offer about 21,000 job offers each year of all forms, so apprenticeship, internships, etc., to our students. In addition to this, for those students who are interested in starting their own enterprise, so business enterprises with ESSEC Venture or social enterprises with ESSEC Andropian, they have the possibility to do that as well. This entrepreneurship is not really part of the finance programs as the program itself, like the MIF program, for example. But for those students who are interested to have their own enterprises, maybe in fintech, etc., we welcome them to get in touch with the ESSEC Ventures once they have graduated from the program. And then we have ESSEC alumni, so that's a network of about 65,000 alumni, like I said, and with 70 chapters in all the major cities of the world. Sometimes in big countries, we have 2 different chapters in big cities in one single country. So these are some things that would help you in catapulting your career, in addition to the academic experience that you will have with the Master in Finance. We have a comprehensive portfolio of the programs. So we offer programs at all levels. So for high school students, we have a BBA. For more experienced profiles, we offer MBA and executive education also. All the programs on the right-hand side that you can see, the master programs, these are offered in English, but we have 6 programs that are also offered entirely in French, and those are master's spécialisé programs. In terms of the diversity of master's programs, you can see we have about 49% of the class that is international. We try to maintain this and please keep 50 and 50% of French and international students on campus. And you have about 65 nationalities that are represented on the campus in master's programs. we will now jump on to the Master in Finance program and try to understand what are some of the key elements of the program. So this is a program that is recognized by the French Higher Education Ministry. It's important to understand what does that mean. This means that once you have graduated from the program, you would have completed 300 ECTS. This means that makes you eligible for doctoral studies. So if you're interested to pursue PhDs, etc., with an ESSEC degree in Master in Finance, you're able to do that. And we are ranked number 4 in the world. So as I said, we are humbly ranked school. We have always tried to be in top 5 on the rankings. The program itself offers 3 different tracks. So you have in the last year of the program. So you have corporate finance track, financial markets track that is available on both the campus, so Singapore and France. And you have the possibility also to take the fintech and analytics track, which is available only at our Singapore campus. One of the reasons why it is like that, because we are based in what is called the Silicon Valley of Singapore. So we are in the northwest of Singapore. We have a lot of tech enterprises and banks around that area. So for that reason, the fintech track works really well in Singapore. You have possibility to do a dual degree. So it's not a double degree, it's a dual degree with UC Berkeley. If you would like, I can explain more about it in the Q&A round. But this degree happens once you have already finished the Master in Finance program at ESSEC. In addition to this, we offer 3 different certificates. So you have Financial Analytics Certificate, Energy and Commodities, and AMF certification. So we have the CFA Institute Affiliation Program, and under which you can get 3 of these certificates from CFA. So we talked already about this, but you can start the program in France and in Singapore. The entire program is taught in English, so there is really no need for you to have any prior education in French, of the French language, in order to start this program. But if you've decided to eventually work in France, so we always recommend that you take French language classes. It's a full-time program and it's offered in 1 and 2 years. So a 2-year program is for students who come with a 3-year bachelor. This means that they have 180 ECTS. And in order to get 300 ECTS to be able to graduate from a state-recognized master degree, they should complete the program in 2 years and get the 120 ECTS remaining. For students who have 240 ECTS or more, which means that you have 4-year bachelor or a master degree, you can do it in 1 year. This way you complete the 300 or a little bit more than 300 ECTS when you complete the program. In terms of the structure, I'll come to it in the second slide, but it usually involves a summer internship, or you can do an academic dissertation. So most students, they are going for internships because they would like to launch their careers after the program. But if you're interested in PhD programs or research, you can go for the academic dissertation as well. We have 2 different international trips involved. So there is London trip, New York, and Hong Kong. This year we have done the London trip in October, and it was online, like Dimitri said, the same case for them. So those are some of the key elements of the program. Then you can have a look at some of the big company names that are present during our fairs and those that come regularly on campus to recruit for our specific finance specialized internship recruitment fairs. You have also some possibility to take level 1, level 2, or level 3 exams. We offer some scholarships for that. And if you're interested in taking CFA level 1 certificate, we also provide coaching for this particular exam. In addition to this, we have a chair called ESSEC M&D chair in asset and risk management. So you can specialize and take some courses with this and do some networking with this chair. And there's an alumni training. So alumni training is basically the 3rd major element. And this is why I was talking about Hubert's question about why you should have some work experience in IB and why it's a valuable asset on your applications, because you're working a lot with alumni to prepare for the internship offers, to pass the interviews, etc., and how to apply to it. And alumni is basically a group of alumni from all big schools in France who graduated from finance programs, and now they are fresh alumni working in investment banks, and they come back to share their experience and to train you on passing these summer internship training. And lastly, we have a fair in London, so I just spoke about it, which is in collaboration with Central Supelec. In terms of the structure of the program, if you're coming for the 2-year program, in the year 1, you will be taking some preparatory courses in term 0. In term 1, you would have core or fundamental courses like management control, strategic cost management, etc. And then you have a 6 months internship. So this 6 months internship is an off-cycle internship. This means that you can work in banks, of course, in Societe, EY, etc., in financial firms. You can also work, for example, in the finance departments of retail firms, if you would like. That's also possible as it's an off-cycle internship. And the same structure remains for France and for Singapore, if you would like. Then in the year 2, you have the main program. So that's the classic program. So you would be doing the core and elective courses in the term 1 and term 2. And in term 1, you can see that you already start preparing with alumni to pass these summer internship interviews. Then you have to choose from January onwards between the tracks. So you can choose between corporate finance and financial markets in France campus. And 3 options are available in Singapore. So you have corporate finance, financial markets, and fintech and analytics. Then you will have the international study trip. So we already talked about it. And then you go for the end of the program. That's the summer internship or dissertation. You can have a look at a few summer internships and full offers, alumni offers here. So you can see you have almost all big names here, like JP Morgan, Barclays, HSBC, SP, Morgan Stanley, etc. And then you will see the career prospects. So 43% go in banking. And this is important to understand that the program actually prepares you to go in an investment bank. If you have any other ideas apart from that, if you're interested, if you have some notions that you like finance, but you're not certain about it, we always recommend that you go for the Master in Management program and not in the finance program, because students who are coming for finance program, they have 100% clarity on where they are headed. And then who can apply? So you have 3 years bachelor, then you can go for the 2-year program. If you have a 4-year bachelor or a master, you go for the 1-year program. There's really no recommendations in terms of a background. So we have students who hold economics business degrees. We have students who are engineers or are coming from scientific backgrounds. We also had, I think last year we had one girl who came from psychology background, but she had a very strong GMAT GRE score. So we took her in the program. And this brings me to what Dimitri said, that it would be a lie to tell you that GMAT doesn't matter, because it does. We are particularly looking at quantitative scores for students, so people who are coming with 80 percentile or more, at least on quantitative score. Surprisingly, our average is the same as HSA's median, so that is 710. In addition to these exams, we're also looking for English tests, so you have TOEFL, IELTS, Cambridge, etc. And then, of course, the regular documents that you have starting from high school. We have several rounds per year. So we have the next round that's coming in January, and the last deadline would be in April. And then we just very quickly to run through this, we have other programs in English. So we have a Master in Management. We have a Master in Data Sciences and Business Analytics. We have a program in Strategy and Management of International Business for those who are looking to go in consulting. We have MSc in Marketing Management and Digital that happens entirely at Singapore. So these are some of the other programs offered in English. And if you would like to get in touch with me, here's my email.
So, okay, thank you very much, Hubert. So I have a question for you. So basically, yes, we understand. So there's a 1-year program and a 2-year program. So you have different type of structure. What I find interesting is that, can you tell us more about this track in fintech and analytics? Is it for students who want to do data sciences, business analytics, data science, or entrepreneurs who want to work in fintech? Who is it for?
So students who are interested to revolutionize the financial platforms, these are the type of students. So these are people who are coming with 2 skills. They are coming with computer skills and they have knowledge of finance. So these are the type of candidates who are looking to go in fintech and analytics track. So they will work in investment banks after they've graduated. They can also, in fact, work in fintech startups, or tech startups, and that would be their career path.
Tell me, Dimitri, do you have people now who are also aiming for careers in fintechs as well? So not just the traditional VC, IB career, but also trying to switch for such companies? No?
Yes. Sorry?
I'm asking to Dimitri. Yeah,
To Dimitri. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Dimitri. Go ahead.
No problem at all. Well, not a lot, to be frank. For the international finance program, it's mostly investment banks or consulting. So, yeah.
And is it something that you want to favor a bit, or you want to go in that direction because you have an incubator, so it's something that HEC entrepreneurship, it's a big thing at HEC.
Yeah. So maybe it's better for students interested in that area to apply for the strategic management program or the entrepreneur program that we have with Polytechnique. So I think that would be a better fit rather than the international finance program.
Okay, and I've seen that also you need to know how to program. I've seen that you have courses in Python, so you need to, in the Master in Finance, you have IT courses such as programming. Yeah, you have this type of thing. Tibor, I've seen that you have Python. It's part of the curriculum. Python.
Yes, exactly. Because we think that students need to have some programming skills also when they are going, because it's particularly for the fintech track, but also when they would be working in investment bank, in leveraged finance, etc. They would be working on certain softwares for which they need this kind of training. And so, yes, this is why we have courses in Python.
Yes. So, Naji, because I know that you both, Dimitri and Vibor, you manage GMIM. I have many students who tell me, I want to work in investment banking, but I'm not sure. Okay, that's why I will apply for GMIM. And then I know that GMIM is a 2-year program. And then I will have a gap year. I will have then internships, wherever you want. And then I will specialize on year 2. So how do you think, how is it perceived by recruiters? Is it the same perception as an MIF, or is it different? How do you think it's perceived, Dimitri? Someone who say wants to apply for an IB, especially people who come. I'm not talking of people who come from the Grande École system, where they know that they have no other option. So when you apply for HEC as a Grande École program, you get an MIM, you don't get an MIF. But how is it perceived according to you when you have someone who has a bachelor? Imagine from Institut d'Empresa. I'm in Madrid today. I'm next to Institut d'Empresa. And I have students who tell me the same thing. I want to work in IB, but I'm not completely sure. So I will not go for an MIF. Basically, by the way, their GMAT score will not be high enough anyway for an MIF. I don't think so. And so on and so forth. They say I would prefer to go for the MIM and then make a switch if necessary. Is it something that you advise them, or it's not? It's better regarded to come from an MIF?
No, that's something I would recommend. I totally agree with Vibor. If students are not entirely sure they want to work in the finance sector, then I would definitely recommend the Master in Management, because as you've said, Hubert, you can do the first year, which is a solid grounding in general management, then take a gap year, do several internships in France or abroad, and then you can specialize. And the really good thing with the Master in Management at HEC Paris is that you also have access to the international finance program. So if you want to specialize in the finance sector, then you can apply for the international finance track that we have, which is the exact same program as our MSc in international finance. Both students are mixed, so you end up doing the same classes, the same study trip, and so on. So to answer your question, in a recruitment standpoint, it makes no difference because students have had the same curriculum.
Okay. But I've heard that to join the IF track, the international finance track, you need to have very high grades. Is it true, or any MIM student at HEC can take it, or you need to have very high grades to join the international finance track? That's a point that some of my students have who are not good enough, obviously. So what do you?
Yeah, it's true that that particular track in year 2 is more competitive, and it's true that the process is based mostly on the GPA in year 1. But students manage to take a lot of electives in finance in year 1 if they already know they'll want to apply for the international finance. So we cannot guarantee, to be honest, but most of the students get what they wanted in the first place.
Okay, it's a good thing. Yeah. So maybe now we're going to have like a testimonial of Dan, because Dan was a student of us. So We'd like to see Dan. Are you with us? It's interesting that we get the testimonial of Dan. Who will,
Yes, I'm here.
So you in Toulouse now? Yeah, you're back home, huh? Yeah.
Yes,
So
exactly.
basically, so Dan, you were my student, huh? Okay, a long time ago. Why? So you have. So can you present? Can you introduce yourself? Yeah, right.
Yes, so thanks for inviting me here. So I did a double degree in economics and mathematics at the Toulouse School of Economics. I did also the first year of magister in economics and statistics. I then did an exchange year at Singapore, at Singapore Management University. I did the first year of my master in finance at ESSEC, and then I did a gap year where I did a first internship at HEC, where I was trading corporate actions, and then I did a second internship at BNP Paribas, where I was as a sales in structured products, and so I have worked a lot with Hubert and his team, and so I have been accepted to Dauphine, EDEC, and ESSEC, and I finally choose the ESSEC, so the master in finance, and so I started in late August, and so I'm currently doing it.
Okay. So can you tell us? Can you share your experience with us? So now you have been almost like three months at ESSEC. So what it is like to be there? So can you share your experience?
Yeah, so I have a promotion of 120 students. So there are a proportion of 80% in corporate finance and 20% in financial markets. The first month and a half it's very intense. We have a lot of classes and have to apply to summer internship. So it's very intense. Teacher are very good. They're here for you. If you have any question, you can ask them like by email or after class. So it's very good. After that, so there is the first. So after this month and a half, we have another classes, and we are more between like a financial market and corporate finance. So it's more specialized. And so I had class of econometrics, options, financial markets, mathematics. And so I really like it, but like as I said, like it's very intense because you have to apply to a lot of summer internship and also follow the classes and do exams. So yeah.
So you have never worked that hard in your life, huh? You have never worked that hard in your life.
No, I won't say that, but
Yeah,
sure. But we have to work.
You look pretty well rested. So tell me, what are your career goals? What are you aiming with ESSEC and MiF?
I would like to go to build brackets. So I have applied to a lot of summer internship. I am in the process for Goldman Sachs in Hong Kong. I have been like I did the first step, so I'm still waiting for other steps. I'm also in the process for UBS, Bank of America. Yeah, I have been rejected by Citi, Morgan Stanley. Yeah, and I don't have any answers for the other banks, and I will continue to apply to hedge fund, to like market maker also. And so yeah, I would like to go either in Paris or like everywhere in the world. I'm very open.
So I remember that you changed your approach. Maybe you wanted to work in financial markets before. Have you changed your opinion? You want to do? You didn't want to be an investment banker. You told me I want to be in financial markets. No.
No, I still want to be in financial markets, but in a bulge bracket.
Okay, in a bulge bracket. So not as an M&A analyst, but as okay.
No.
So what have you developed in these last 3 months?
I have developed my Yeah, it worked because I have met a lot of students like who did very good internship, have very good experience from Mexico, India, US, Spain, Italy, like from almost all over the world. Like I got a lot of insight for the process for the summer internship or for the process like in banks. We also had alumni. I don't know if you know alumni promotion. So it's from a guy which is Michael Oana, and so he did a lot of promotion and he gave us a lot of advices to do our best in during the interviews or before and after. So yeah, and also like I've got very good classes with very good professors. So I think I'm developing my financial market skills and my skill in economics also. And so yeah.
Okay. So what else? So basically, you came back to Toulouse, from what I see. And there's an echo. No, but it's fine. You're back in Toulouse. So what are you experiencing now at ESSEC? So when you look back to class, you have to read model. How are you affected by the current situation? Can you tell me?
To be honest, it's not the same to be like in a room alone and in front of a screen. So it's not optimal, but I'm still in contact with a lot of students. Like we are doing like group project. We can call each other and everything, but to follow a class alone in his room, it's not amazing, I have to say. But I don't have any choice, so I have to adapt and to do my best. So
that's the thing. Because now, tell me, Vigor, the ESSEC campus is closed. It's only online classes. How do we call it?
Yes, exactly. It's closed. We can have access to the library 2 times per week, but like as I'm in Toulouse, I can't. It's also bad because we have a room with a lot of computers and access to Bloomberg, and so it's very useful, but I don't have access. So I hope to be soon back, but I don't have any information if I will back like in December, in January, but I think it will be in January, I hope. So yeah, so like in say, I think.
Okay, so I will not take too much of your time. You're busy. So what are so what did you find most difficult in the admission process? Because I met you 7 months ago, 8 months ago. So what did you find most difficult?
I think the most difficult is to find the time, because I was doing an internship at BNP Paribas, so it was taking a lot of time for me, and I was also preparing the GMAT, and so everything together was very hard. I have to meet you, to prepare like everything, all the essays, or the everything. So I think if I can give like an advice, start like very early, like I think here in November is very good to start the process, and yeah.
Okay. So what are the 3 pieces of advice, most valuable advice that you give to the students that are here today and who are currently preparing the GMAT with us? I'm interested in MIF, like you.
Sorry?
And who are also interested in an MIF like you.
Yeah, so I have prepared the GMAT with Anis from Réussir le GMAT. And so same thing. I have to say that you have to do it like early. You have to take at least 3 months, and like you have to study it like every day, like as much as you can. You have to be also consistent, and yeah, I think yeah. And for the MIF, you have to get all the information you need, like also earlier in the year, and you have to be prepared. You have to know the school, to get all the information that you need before, and you also have to follow Hubert advices, which are very good. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, we'll be happy to follow you, because you know we are in regular contact then, because we are close friends at the same time. So it's important that you check Dan's profile. Of course, I'm very impressed to see that he's negotiating with Goldman Sachs, but I know that he will do well in life. Okay, and don't forget to practice, Dan. You have many other things to do, because he's also very good sportsman. Okay. Voilà. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye bye. Yeah. It's always interesting to see Vibor and Dimitri, to see how much they grow and they develop. Okay, he's already a different person. So basically, I think that of course when I met Dan, you have to understand that he was looking for internships at Société Générale or PNP, and now he's negotiating with Goldman Sachs in Hong Kong. So you know, there's nothing to sell after that. Okay, I think that the people who came here to the webinar, they say, okay, we understand. Okay, they say you play in a different field. So now we have lots of questions to ask. We could stop the meeting here. Okay, he was looking for internship at Société Générale. Now he's negotiating with Bank of America in America and Goldman Sachs in Hong Kong. Okay, what else? Okay, we could stop the seminar here if you want. So I have question to ask you. So there's Brandon. Okay, Brandon, thank you for coming. So Brandon, for instance, he has a BBA program. He has a BBA program, and I think that you answered this question. He wants to know if he can still apply to the MIF. So from what I understand, Vigor, you can apply to the 2-year MIF. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's 3 years.
Okay, and you, Dimitri, can you apply to your program with a BBA from he has a BBA from Kedge, I believe. Yes, he can apply. Yeah. As well as you have a BBA.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, because you see, for instance, in Belgium, in Benelux, we distinguish university BBA from professional BBA. Okay, and if you have like a BBA from what we call like a vocational school, that we call school in our countries, we cannot directly apply to a master program at university. But here you don't distinguish professional BBAs, professional bachelors from university bachelors. Okay, except that if you have a professional bachelor at ESSEC, you need to complete a 2-year program. What is the proportion of people who come with a BBA, with a sort of professional bachelor, with a 3-year program at ESSEC, Vibor?
We have about 35% who come from business backgrounds, not necessarily BBA, but BSc in business administration, BBAs, other economics, finance backgrounds. So we have only like 35 to 40% students who come from business backgrounds. So only information I have is this. I don't know exactly how many have the BBA title.
Okay, and you, Dimitri, same thing, a quarter? Yeah.
You know, even more, I think most of the students come with a bachelor's degree. So yeah, that would be. And if you already hold a master's degree, I think it's possible to be admitted, but I think it's a little bit more difficult, because then you have to convince the jury that you want to do an extra master's degree. So you really have to make your case. I think it's a little bit more challenging, even though it's possible.
Yes, it's true that's why I also explain to my students, they don't like schools do not want people who collect degrees. They want people who need the degree, because then you look like an eternal student, and they may wonder if you really want to work. And of course, the idea of a school like okay, and at the same time you have so many students applying already that you don't need these students. Of course, some students ask us about about grades. We agree that you ask the grades from the high school diploma. You don't need the high school diploma, but maybe you may need the transcript of the high school diploma up to the latest degree. Huh? We agree with that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So
we don't ask for the high school at HEC Paris. We don't ask for the high school grades. It would just
that's for the bachelor degree grades.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Some of my students, so we have students, for instance, from India. Okay, you understand that from India they see the Brexit as a different from what we see here. They say, have you noticed that the Brexit has affected job offers in England? So does it mean that you get more job offers now? The job offers that you in England now are in France or in Germany, or that they're recruiting fewer? There is fewer recruitment in the UK. Is the job market affected by the Brexit? For instance, and then Dimitri, you can share.
So honestly, we were expecting something would move after the Brexit, but honestly, for our Master in Finance program, it hasn't moved. Students still want to go to the UK. It's the #1 destination for students who want to start their careers after their Master in Finance. So, but we have seen a difference that a lot of students are now opening up to go work in the Luxembourg, in Belgium, in Germany, etc. UK used to be a #1 destination. So it hasn't dramatically decreased after Brexit, but then students are now open to going to other destinations also. Before they were like, the whole class wanted to go eventually work in the UK or stay back in Paris.
Because that's a trend. But of course, as you know, the M&A market is not the same in Belgium, Luxembourg, or Switzerland as it is in the UK. The market is less dynamic, less liquid. Have you noticed now that your students tend to consider other destinations, or still it's still London, of course, the #1 location? Yeah. No, Dimitri.
Well, not really. I would agree with Hubert. We did expect a lot of changes due to Brexit, but frankly, we still have 40%, even more, with the students coming from the Master in Management. About 50% of the graduate students who work in the UK, despite the Brexit. So no real impact. I guess there's a small change that it's not exactly what you're asking, but I think there's a change, a swift for, let's say, non-EU students from China, for instance. They're more and more interested in studying and working in Europe. 10 years ago, perhaps, it was just the US and only the US for Chinese students or Indian students. Now I see a lot of those non-European students interested in studying in France, let's say.
Yeah. Anyway, of course, the only thing that you see, for instance, from India, what I've noticed a lot is that, of course, they feel more at ease in the UK because they feel that they speak English already, so it would be easier for them to adapt. Whereas, for instance, in France or in Germany, they need to speak the national language, and I see that they make an effort, but they reach B1, B2, and maybe they feel that they will not, the language level will be an handicap, maybe at school. Question that comes, I read the question that we have here. So question that come over and over, it's about scholarships, okay? So Hubert, what is offered? So I know that maybe it's a bit stupid to talk in terms of scholarship. It's more like what are the fundings available in terms of funding given by France, funding given by ESSEC, funding given by Prodigy Finance, funding given by banks. So can you give us an idea of usually how students, I would say, fund their studies when they come? What is the part of family money, personal savings, Prodigy Finance, personal loans, scholarship? How does it work in general? If you can.
So if I can give you like a broader figure, I would say about 30% of all master's programs, students are opting for Prodigy Finance because they're working really well with ESSEC. So that would be the figure for Prodigy. 60% of the students, they are bringing in personal financial options. So either they're taking loans in their home countries or they have funds available to fund their master in France. And then I would say 10% come from some sort of scholarships. So either big scholarship options like IFL, etc., that helps them to pay their living expenses. And then there are some scholarships that are not very high popular ones, but those are given by Campus France also. So they are smaller scholarships and they're specific to nationalities. So if you go and get in touch with Campus France, they will tell you what they are.
Okay.
So those would be like the 100% funding criteria.
Okay. And you, Dimitri, how do they fund their studies in general?
Well, small difference than our friends from ESSEC, because we do have foundations, a scholarship, the HEC Foundation scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically all admitted students are automatically considered for that excellence scholarship. So it's merit-based. We mainly look at your GPA and GMAT score. Those would be the main criteria. And so it's basically a deduction of your tuition fees. It's not money you'll receive, but it's a deduction of the tuition fees from 3,000 euros up to 15,000 euros. So that would be an important opportunity to mention. But also, as Hubert said, we also have the IFL opportunity just for round one applicants because they have a different schedule. It's a foreign office scholarship. And Prodigy Finance is also an opportunity. Even though, to be honest, sometimes the interest rates are a little bit higher. So, each student has to do the math and ask for a quote. But yeah, those would be the main ways to fund your studies.
So, and also what you have to see, students, is that you have to understand the cost of the program, but at the same time, you have to consider what you can gain from a program. So imagine that you pay not a lot, you stay in your country for Master in Finance that is not very recognized, and you with this Master in Finance, you will, I don't know, imagine that you come from, I don't know, the Czech Republic, you get a Master in Finance from the Czech Republic. Well, it will be difficult probably to work for Goldman Sachs in London with such masters. So okay, it's not going to cost you a lot, but at the same time, you're not going to make a lot of money. So basically, sometimes it's good to make an investment, okay, that will bring you a lot of money. So you have to consider that like a long-term investment, and not even long-term investment, like a life investment. And I noticed that my students, they have everything reimbursed after 2 or 3 years' time. So it's very, very fast. You have seen that, for instance, it was for you, Dimitri, the average salary after 3 years after HEC is 136,000 euros. Considering that some may not have top jobs, so I would say that probably the top 80%, they are more in the 150, 160,000. So when you make 150, 160,000 euros per year, knowing that most of it is in bonus, probably there's probably 30 to 40,000 euros bonus. You reimburse your debts pretty fast. So you have to consider, I spend money, but I will get my money back very, very fast. The ROI is very, very fast. So basically, I would ask you, so I don't have that many questions. Yes, also there is the status of the reapplicant before. So if I get rejected and I reapply, what do I have to do to be really considered so that really so that I've increased my chance of being taken? You agree that you have to improve your application even more than an average student because you have received a no. So if they see you reapplying, they need to see real improvement. No, you agree with that? Yeah.
Yes. So in 1 year you cannot reapply. So if you're rejected in round 1, for example, or round 2, you cannot reapply again for that year. You can reapply next year, of course. And next year, use that time. So you would have almost 1 year before you can apply next year. Try to do some internships in finance. Try to increase your GMAT GRE score. Definitely that would help. And then I think it's also a question of motivation. Sometimes we reject candidates. Most of the applications that we are getting, usually we get with very high GMAT GRE scores, with good experience, etc. Students who are very interested in the program. We would reject an application because we are not sure if the student is looking at the end product of the program. So they are looking at where they are headed after the program, and then the program, they would actually be dragging throughout the program because they are not, they don't want to go where we will take them. And so if this is something that's missing from their profile, we will reject the application because we cannot help that candidate with our program. And so if this is one of the reasons, and which is most likely the reason, I think working on your motivation, trying to understand what is the end of the program, where you're headed after the program, that would help.
Okay. What about you, Dimitri?
Yeah, small difference again here. We do accept reapplication within the same year, but you're right, Hubert, it makes no sense to reapply with the exact same profile and application. So we encourage students to reapply with a different application, and for instance, with a higher GMAT score, or perhaps an additional work experience that you are able to secure. So that would be important. And also, one thing I wanted to mention, because we talked about the Master in Management, at HEC Paris, you can, with a single application, you can apply for 2 different programs, and the first choice is your preferred one. If not admissible or admitted, then we assess your second choice.
Yes, that's something that I wanted to say. So, Libor, what piece of advice would you give to someone? So we have students from Russia, from South Africa, from India, from the MBA Center network who are coming today, from China even. So what piece of advice would you give to these students who want to do an MIF so that they get the winning application? What would you give them? They will apply, basically they will send the application between January and March 2021. So what would you advise them to do the next 3-4 months?
So my first advice would be already start reading about investment banks, start reading about careers in finance, do your homework. That's very important, because finance is a very specialized program. People who are coming for this program, they have very refined professional projects. If you're lost, if you're confused about what you should do after the program, I think first it would be very difficult for you to get in the program. And if you manage to get in the program, I think it would be extremely difficult for you again to finish the program and go to the end. So already start learning about what are some of the possibilities after the program, or what are you partaking in the program. That's important. Read on the website. That's very important. Secondly, start working towards your GMAT GRE scores. As I said, we are looking at quantitative profiles. So we're looking at your transcripts, obviously, if you've done courses like mathematics, econometrics, statistics, etc. But in addition to this, the quantitative profile on GMAT GRE. So that's very important work on that. And the third advice would be have an internship. If it's possible for you, do an internship and see what it's like to work in a bank, to work in a finance department. Even if it's a finance department, that's okay. But have an experience prior to coming from in the program, so that you understand what challenge you are up to. And if you think that after having this internship, you're still motivated, you would still like to go ahead and pursue a degree in finance, then apply for the Master in Finance programs.
You, Dimitri.
Well, Vibor gave us great advice, so I would just add to contact perhaps the current students. We have a special platform on the website. You can reach out our MIF students and have better insights into the program, into the admission process, the technical questions that you are likely to be asked during the interview. Also, don't be afraid to reach out alumni via LinkedIn, for instance. So that would be it. And well, last thing I want to mention, because we've talked about the GMAT, obviously, and it's maybe obvious, but we do accept the online version of the GMAT. So I just want to make sure that all students do know that.
Yeah, I would like to actually add that too. Thanks, Dimitri, for remembering that.
Okay. Now, basically, the Karishma will tell us also if she has questions. So basically, it's true that I noticed, we have students applying for MBA, MIM, MIF, and of course, I noticed, from the outside, that those who do the MIF are always the most successful. And why? Because they work in finance. They have a specialization, so basically it's not like some programs that are very generalist. You know how to do something, and this type of degree is recognized. It's probably the highest possible that we can get, by the way, in the field. You work, of course, in a sector that is growing, and of course, if you understand economics and history, it can only grow for many reasons, simply because the states are issuing more debts. And the fact that they issue more debt means that there's more money in the markets and it will automatically increase. And for many reasons, there's no reason that it stops. Okay, and there will be a stop one day, but it's not for now. So yes, I'm surprised to see how successful they are. For instance, you see, Dimitri, the 3-year salary after the MIF is higher than the 3-year salary that you have after an MBA at INSEAD. Okay, higher. Okay, and these guys, they are 24, 25 years old, and that's what they get. And of course, I don't have students now in your MIF program. I had last year, the year before, got accepted, and of course, I follow them on LinkedIn, and I see that they do pretty well. They usually work as M&A analysts in what we call bulge bracket banks, or Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and so on and so forth. So you, Karishma, so I introduce you to Karishma. Karishma is based in Eastern India. She's our journalist as well. She managed a YouTube channel, and also she worked with students. So Karishma, what did you say?
Yeah, I have just one or two questions, and I just want to ask one because Achinte has raised his hand in the thing. So his question is, for a person who has engineering background, does he have to score much higher on GMAT for MSc in international finance? Maybe Dimitri, you could go for this.
Yeah. Well, no, not especially. I mean, it would be an asset, of course, but the person doesn't necessarily have to have a great score. But I would, on the other hand, perhaps recommend an internship in the finance sector, because not coming from a business background, coming from engineering, that would be really better to have prior work experience in the finance sector. But for the GMAT, I mean, not especially.
Any take on this, Hubert?
No, same answer for ESSEC also, the one that Dimitri gave.
All right. My final question is, since you mentioned that there are multiple rounds of the admission, is there any disadvantage students face if they apply in the later rounds at HEC?
Well, to be honest, it's true that mathematically speaking, there are fewer spots with each passing round. So it's true. But I've seen great applicants in the third round, for instance. So you should really apply when you're ready, because it's better to apply with a great GMAT score, with all your essay questions ready and all, rather than to just rush and submit a bad application. So.
Okay. Last question, Hubert. I'm sorry to ask you this again, but when I went to your website, it mentioned that the course is either 1 or 2 years. Could you just run me through it one more time, just?
Okay, so Karishma, because it's a state-recognized degree, we have an obligation to give students 300 ECTS, so the European Credit Transfer System, before they graduate from the program. And in Europe, you can be eligible for a PhD, for example, only if you have 300 ECTS completed. So when students come with a 3-year bachelor, this means that they have 180 ECTS. So they would still have 120 to complete. Now, 120 in 1 year is very difficult. And this is why we tell them you can complete 30 ECTS in the first year, and then go for the remaining ECTS in the regular 1-year program. And this is why people who have 3-year bachelor, they will go for the 2-year program. So they would do a first year of 30 ECTS and the remaining ECTS in the final year. And then people with 4-year bachelor, they already have 240 ECTS, or if they could have more if they come with a master degree, and then they would go for directly in the 1-year program.
All right. Thank you both so much. Hubert, those were my questions. If you have anything else.
Thank you very much. So basically, Hubert and Dimitri, so you see that the MBA Center network is growing. As you see, last April, we had for all the programs about 40 students, and now we need to split between. So for the MIF, it's a bit different because it's still not like the MIM or the MBA, but for the MIM and the MBA, we had to split in 3 areas. And probably next year there will be US, South America, so there will be even more zones, and we hope to include China. So thank you very much for your support. I know that every time I ask you for support from Hubert and Dimitri, they always agree to it. So it's very nice to talk to you, and it's very important that you understand that we talk to our students, we tell them many things. We have, of course, we have an advising service, etc. But it's important that they hear things from you. And of course, it's also important for us that you train us, because we learn a lot from you. And you have to understand that that I don't know. I have some of my account managers who talk to 30 people per day. Dimitri. Okay, the account manager, she's not your Itika or Ruben or John that you have never met them, but I would say that basically we have a team of 10 sales and now it will go to 20. It means that at some stage we'll talk to 600 people per day. Okay, so you understand to how many people we talk, and we would like to see schools more interested in what we do, saying, okay, when they have a team talking to 600 people per day, it's important that to talk to them so that we give them the right information, because it's very important that people know what to expect, and also more important that they know what to target, okay? Because sometimes students target too high, sometimes they target too low, and it's very important to tell them, okay, if your profile is like this, don't target HEC or ESSEC, it's too high for you. So it's important that they know which score you want, etc. So it's important what you do for us helps us, but most important, it helps them, okay? Because I don't say that you'll be happy, Dimitri, to reply to 600 requests per day. So we do a lot of work in between, training, informing the market. Okay, now we're developing a channel with Karishma. We have a YouTube channel, and we try to make it bigger. I'm sure that in 1 year we'll have a real educational channel. Okay, where there will be tougher sessions, etc. Like probably with 4 or 5 hours per day of programs, and we tend to go there. So thank you again very much for your support. It's very helpful, and we feel that our work is recognized and rewarded. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you,
Thank you
both
very
of
much,
you, for
Libor.
joining us.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Hubert and
Thank
Karishma.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.